What's going on, guys? Welcome to Everything Always. My name's Michael Roman, aka Allfires. Now, this past week we did several videos covering Daredevil Born Again that goes live on Disney Plus in March, and we're expecting a trailer by the end of the month, I think possibly January 20th, attached to the National College Football Championship. However, one of the best things about Daredevil being renewed and brought back is that we also get Jon Bernthal's Punisher, and where there were rumors that his contract he originally signed to return as Punisher might include a solo project, we are now hearing from an industry insider that said solo project that was on hold for a while has now been re-greenlit, and they are in pre-production on Punisher having an extension of his own solo show eventually on Disney Plus. We're going to break down where this came from, what they said, the previous news we had heard about it, because this isn't the first time we're hearing about a Punisher show, and why now this is so important it's been greenlit, what the future looks like for Punisher in the MCU. We're breaking it all down, but first, if you could grab the subscribe button. We do daily Marvel content at the channel, that's all we do, so if that sort of thing's for you, hit the sub button, leave a comment down below. That automatically enters you to win our ongoing PS5 giveaway. We've got like 3 in the next 2 months for Marvel drops. Again, just be a sub, leave a comment if you want, stick around to the end of the video. We get into all the giveaway stuff again there. Now, if we rewind the clock to almost 2 years ago, although it does not feel like it's been that long, in early 2023, when Marvel Studios and Disney were taking a crack at rebooting Daredevil the very first time before the actors' strike, if you remember, they watched the first 3 or 4 episodes that they had shot and decided that this wasn't good enough. They had to embrace the original Netflix show. Now, that's when we heard all the announcements that the original cast was coming back alongside Charlie Cox, including none other than Jon Bernthal's Punisher. Super, super exciting news, because outside of Charlie Cox being a perfect Daredevil, Jon Bernthal is a perfect Punisher, and a lot of people really wanted him back. Plus, his stipulation for returning was that they had to maintain the violence and the tone of the original series and shows, which meant if he was back, that's the direction they were going in. Then you fast forward to over 2 years later and 2 months ago in November, when Marvel Vice President and President of Animation and Television, Brad Winderbaum, came out and flat out said that there was a future for Jon Bernthal's Punisher in the role. And his quote was along the lines of, "He's an absolute perfect casting. Can't wait to see him in the show. It's extremely violent, and he for sure, quote, has an MCU future ahead of him after the Daredevil series has concluded." Now, there were rumors at the time that he may be getting his own series, but those rumors changed when Marvel Studios sort of changed their directive for how much content they were going to put out, publicly announced they were going down to 2 films and 3 TV shows a year, and then since then we had not heard anything on whether or not they were going forward with the Punisher show, only that if they were going to do a 3rd season of Daredevil Born Again, they would wait for the first 2 seasons and see what the reaction and the numbers were like. Well, cue up today's scoop from none other than Daniel Rickman, one of the most trusted sources in the industry. You guys can follow him over on Twitter at RPK News, who's indicated that the Punisher show has now been fully greenlit and it is back in pre-development. We will be getting another Punisher series in the future on Disney Plus. Now, really, there's 2 main takeaways from this. Number 1, what Punisher is going to look and feel like in the MCU, and number 2, where he's going to end up. The first of which, when we used to talk about this for years, sort of pre-Deadpool and Wolverine, there were question marks surrounding what Blade or Punisher might look like in the MCU, because they were too violent a character for the tone that the MCU had set, and of course their movies are PG-13, where it's really hard to do a character like Blade and Punisher any justice. But we are in a whole different MCU now, post Deadpool and Wolverine making $1 billion at the box office, and while I wouldn't ever attempt to compare the two, look, Blade and Punisher are both very popular characters, but not anywhere near as popular as, say, Deadpool, and for sure not something like Wolverine. And I don't think Marvel Studios is going to march out Blade and Punisher and say, hey, go make $1 billion at the box office. But what they know is that they can make violent, rated R versions of these characters, and it doesn't detract from the audience in any way. If anything, it just enhances it for the audience they've already got. Because let's face it, a majority of the people watching the MCU right now are well over the age to go see rated R movies at the theater. And of course, with Disney Plus and TV having a different rating system, and as they've started to explore more violent shows on Disney Plus, like Echo attempted to be, like they've promised Daredevil Born Again will be, we know that we can get an extremely violent Punisher, man. And if you've never watched that original Punisher Netflix series with Jon Bernthal, man, I really highly recommend you do. Not only is it great, the body count is astronomical, and now we know Marvel Studios can confidently do something like that with a Punisher TV reboot and not sort of shy away from it. So a lot of expectations going into that. But I think even more exciting is that we'll finally get to see Punisher eventually in one of the ensembles that makes sense for the character. And while I think there could be a Thunderbolts 2 down the road if they have success with this, and he could end up there, I think a lot more likely the case he ends up on the Midnight Suns. We've heard plenty of reports about what Marvel Studios is looking to do with that project, and while we'll wade into those details in full in an upcoming video, I think it's number 10 or 11 on the production list for January right now. So we have a Midnight Suns video coming. You can just read the tea leaves for what we've already seen. Werewolf by Night was meant to be the first project to set that up. They didn't put a rating to it. They meant it to be scary, blood, etc. Another character for the Midnight Suns will also be Blade, if we ever get that movie. When we get that movie, that will also be rated R with a ton of blood. And then we're being introduced to Punisher now in the Daredevil series that we expect to be violent with a ton of blood. So if I had to guess, again, just reading the tea leaves and without relying on scoops and industry insider information, when you have an actor like Jon Bernthal and a role like the Punisher, and then you have a team like the Midnight Suns that seems like it's going to be super dark and or R-rated already in the ensemble of characters, that is the perfect place for him to end up. So when Brad Winderbaum talks about a future for the Punisher in the MCU beyond Daredevil, I don't know if he was just referring to his solo show as much as he was talking about the exciting possibilities of putting Punisher where he belongs in the MCU. One final thought. There, of course, is another character I have left off the list in this entire video that everyone wants to see him cross over with, and that, of course, is Spider-Man, where it looked like Spider-Man 4 for a while there was going to be our dream Punisher, Daredevil, Spider-Man team-up. For all the reasons I talked about during this video, Spider-Man 4 is not the place for him. Sony has to keep that one PG-13, and of course you could have a Punisher cameo or team up with Spider-Man. You just don't use any blood, and you just have him railing off his guns and then fighting against a foe. It would work. But there's better places for him, and the Midnight Suns is definitely that. Plus, quick side note, you can get around the R rating if he's blasting ghouls, goblins, and vampires instead of blasting humans, but the amount of blood that they're going to need to put just is going to give that stuff an R rating no matter what. That's where I want to see him, but you guys let me know all your thoughts down below. Where do you want to see Punisher in the future of the MCU, and how hype are you for another Punisher solo series on Disney+? I'm all ears as always. Quickly, let's get into the giveaway stuff before I let you go. We are still giving away PlayStation 5s, and as I mentioned, I think during the prologue, guys, there's like one for Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, another one for Daredevil, and one for Captain America in between. So like over the next 90 days or 60 days, 3 giveaways. All you have to do to be entered to win, super simple. Hit the sub button, leave a comment, because it's truly random. The more videos you comment on, the better chance you have of winning. All winners will be announced at the end of videos, the same way we're doing here. The best way to keep up with the content has always been to hit the notification bell with all notifications turned on. And as always, if you like today's video, I'd appreciate it if you'd hit the like button. My name's Michael Roman. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at I'mFires. You can find me on all platforms with original music under the name Allfires. And while I sincerely appreciate you checking my music out, thanks for checking this channel out. Stick around. We'll be posting again real soon.